2000, 2001, what a season to remember, so near but yet so far as we look for that elusive promotion from Division 3. We couldn't have asked for a much longer trip at the start of the season, but likewise we couldn't have asked for a much better result. Carl Griffiths finishing off Richard Garcia's cross for his first of 19 that season. Carlisle were the visitors for our first home match. Amit Berkovic brought down in the box. The first of 6 penalties Matt Lockwood would take at home this year, and he scored them all. It was the linesman that spotted the offence, and as you'll see from this replay, no doubt whatsoever. So to the delight of the South Stand, up stepped Lockwood, and despite the presence of former Orient goalkeeper Luke Weaver between the posts for Carlisle, he made no mistake from the spot. 1-0, and all 3 points going the O's way. It was Worthington Cup action next, and we were drawn against 2nd Division Reading with the first leg at home. Tony Rougier's cross was met by the Royals' new signing Jamie Curitan, and he headed them into a first half lead. Question marks over the O's marking, but after the break it was a different story as we fought back well, and Croatian Amit Berkovic netted his first of the season, finishing coolly from inside the box after Matt Lockwood had laid the ball through. Things firmly in the balance for the second leg at the Medeski Stadium then. Look at the way Berkovic tucked it away, keeping his cool in front of goal. But the O's weren't finished, and Steve Watts came close to grabbing a second goal, picking up Andy Harris's pass and trying his luck with a first-time effort that almost made it 2-1. Our second away game of the season was a trip to the seaside, Blackpool. Richard Garcia, signed on loan from West Ham just before the start of the season, netted his first to put us ahead. But Garcia's debut goal was cancelled out by this deflected free kick, which gave Ashley Bays no chance. 1-1 it stood then, and Blackpool were on top. But it was Garcia who struck again. Matt Lockwood's corner not cleared properly, and this excellent overhead kick put us 2-1 in front. Griff tried to claim he got the final touch, but not on this occasion. It was the Australians' day. As the replay shows, an early contender for goal of the season. The Blackpool defence stood flat-footed as the ball crept in. But just when we thought the points would be coming back south, Phil Clarkson rose highest in the box to give the Seasiders a share of the spoils. Blackpool 2, Leyton Orient 2. Bank Holiday Monday saw Exeter visit Brisbane Road, and it was a familiar face in unfamiliar colours who gave the Grecians the lead. Alex Inglethorpe on target from the edge of the box. But Dave McGee netted his first of the season, stealing in to meet Matt Lockwood's free kick and level up the scores. Steve Watts looked pleased, but the replay will show the Exeter goalkeeper was less so. And then after Carl Griffiths had been brought down in the box, up stepped Matt Lockwood, 2 out of 2 from the spot, and another 3 points going our way. Leyton Orient 2, Exeter City 1. Next up was the trip to Halifax. Things started so well, as from a corner which wasn't cleared, Dean Smith, the captain, headed us in front. The jubilant scenes were soon repeated when Nicky Shorey's free kick was put back into the danger area by Amit Berkovic and Carl Griffiths poked home. But the O's couldn't keep their lead, and after the match Tommy Taylor blasted his players as Halifax came back from the dead to rescue a point. This excellent strike from Jerry Harrison gave the Shaman hope. And then although the cameraman missed it, I can assure you Steve Kerrigan certainly didn't, as he met Alan Riley's free kick to level the scores and give us a final score of Halifax Town 2, Leyton Orient 2. Away from the league, there was some unfinished business to attend to in the Worthington Cup as we travelled to the Medeski Stadium for the second leg. Amit Berkovic claimed this one, but I'm not sure how. Still, nobody was complaining as it put us ahead on aggregate. This finish was more convincing. Isden Christie's first of the season put us through 3-1 on aggregate, an excellent result. Those Reading fans certainly agree. Buoyed by that royal result, we took on Hull City looking to maintain our 100% home league record. Things started badly when Theodore Whitmore poked the visitors ahead from close range. Question marks there over the O's defending. But we fought back, and Carl Griffiths, that man on target yet again. Jason Brissett with the touch off. Amit Berkovic put the ball into Griffiths' path, and he beat the on-rushing goalkeeper, showing his real striker's instinct. Whitmore wasn't finished though, and the Jamaican international made it 2-1 to the Boothby Park boys. After Ashley Bays could only parry a shot, he followed in to head home from close range. But just as he had done at the Medeski Stadium in midweek, Isden Christie popped up with the final goal of the game. An excellent finish from 25 yards. John Martin produced the clever footwork on the wing. Back to Matt Lockwood. Griffiths found Valsharts, and he in turn released Christie, who saw the space, saw the net, and then saw the celebrations. Orient 2, Hull 2. This one, I think, definitely worth seeing again. Our second visitors from Humberside that week was Scunthorpe United. We got off to a great start as Richard Garcia was felled in the box in just the 13th minute. People were beginning to notice the number of penalties we were getting at home. That was 3 in just 4 league games. But I think you'll agree, it was a good decision. Matt Lockwood, who was getting used to this job by now, stepped up and made it 1-0. But this was something of a drab encounter, and nobody could deny Scunthorpe deserved their point. Lee Hodges, who had a lone spell at Brisbane Road a few years ago, danced his way through the defence and let fly from 20 yards. So although we'd kept our unbeaten league run, it wasn't to last much longer as we went down 2-1 at Agborough the following Saturday, Isden Christie scoring in our 2-1 defeat at Kidderminster. The Worthington Cup draw had been kind to us though, and we produced a performance to be proud of at a packed St James's Park until Carl Court gave the Geordies the lead. But the O's never say die spirit really paid off, and it wasn't until late on that Gary Speed gave them some breathing space. Speed drilled home from the edge of the box, and although Newcastle had the victory on the pitch, in the stands it was certainly Orient's night, with 1,000 travelling fans cheering their side on from the rafters. By now we'd cemented our position amongst the division's early front-runners, and Lincoln were the next side to go home pointless from Brisbane Road. It was Carl Griffiths on target with his 4th of the season. He'd come close in the first half, and although he wasn't to be denied after the break, surely the credit must go to Garcia. Look at this rampaging run, leaving 3 Imps defenders in his wake, only denied by a combination of a deflection and the post, but the poacher supreme was on hand, and another 3 points went our way. Over 9,500 packed into Brisbane Road the next Tuesday to see if we could produce an upset against Newcastle. Although coming back from 2-0 down was always a tall order, we put in an excellent performance. Veteran striker Kevin Gallagher had given Bobby Robson's side the lead, but Steve Watts picked the perfect time to score his first of the season when he slid home from close range to ensure that Newcastle's poor run in London continued. How many games is it now since they've won in the capital? But that high was followed by a disappointing low at the Withdean Stadium. As Paul Rogers swooped to give the Seagulls the lead, there was no way back from then on. And when Kerry Mayo made it 2-0, the points were sealed for Brighton. Brighton 2, Orient 0. So after 2 successive defeats on the road, we were in need of a morale-boosting win, and it came in the nick of time away at Torquay. Richard Garcia headed home his 3rd goal in Orient colours, meeting Matt Lockwood's free kick at the far post. The lead was doubled after the break. Carl Griffiths was on target again, with possibly the easiest finish of his career. Andy Harris did well to pick him out with this cross from the right, and there was no marking as Griff said thank you very much. Torquay picked up late on, especially after Ryan Ashington had come on, and it was from his corner that Kevin Hill made it 2-1. Torquay 1, Orient 2. Another good home crowd then saw us dispatch fellow promotion chasers Cardiff City. Dean Smith on the end of this Matt Lockwood free kick to give us a 9th minute lead. Then just after the half-hour mark, Griffiths was fouled again in the box. Lockwood stepped up, and no, it isn't a replay. This was yet another home penalty. Leo Fortune West met an Andy Legg corner late on to halve the deficit, but it wasn't enough for the Bluebirds. Orient 2, Cardiff 1. Shrewsbury made us work hard that following Tuesday. We came away with the points, but not until we'd had an early scare. Ashley Bayes turned this acrobatic effort around for a corner as the Shrews piled on the early pressure. This is one clip Dave McGee won't want to see again. He'd already scored once this season, but surely this should have been 2. Freddie Caddio with the cross, and Dave McGee with the miss. But Wim Valschaerts opened the scoring to ease the home nerves, and then in injury time, sub Steve Watts netted this spectacular effort to seal all 3 points. A great finish from the man who was beginning to become known as a super sub. The Shrewsbury defence didn't know which way to turn as he made the final score Orient 2, Shrewsbury 0. A trip to Yorkshire saw us earn another well-deserved point. Richard Garcia put us ahead. He was fed through by Carl Griffiths after Amit Berkovic's ball out of defence, and what an excellent finish from the young Australian. Garcia, of course, on loan to the O's from West Ham, and it was another Premiership striker, Neil Tarrant, who's been loaned to the Minstermen from Villa, who levelled the scoring. Tommy Taylor not happy with the O's defending, but Tarrant didn't need asking twice to beat Ashley Bayes from the edge of the box. York 1, Orient 1. Next up, and it was a local derby against Barnet. Bees boss John Still was left fuming after the game. He blamed the referee for at least 2 of the O's goals. Berkovic cut in and found Carl Griffiths for the first. The Barnet penalty area was eerily empty. Still wanted to know where the offside flag was, and you can see from this replay the question deserves an answer. Griff, though, wasn't complaining at all. Omar Ritza, like Garcia, on loan to a third division club from West Ham, levelled the scoring with an impressive finish to give the Bees some hope, but it was short-lived as the O's struck twice in the second half. Andy Harris laid the long ball out to the wing, picked up by Matt Lockwood. He in turn found Wim Valschaerts, and the Belgians' cross handled by Sam Stockley. Another questionable refereeing decision. Let's have a look at this one again. As the ball comes in, Stockley tries to move his left arm out of the way, but as you can see, the contact was made. Lockwood stepped up, and it was 2-1 to the O's. Now, if Still wanted to see those 2 Orient goals again for question marks over the refereeing decisions, his goalkeeper Lee Harrison won't thank us for including this one. Wim Valschaerts with the shot from the edge of the box. Not sure about that one, Lee. Wim, though, clearly delighted. His second long-range goal in successive home games. Well struck, but I think the goalkeeper should have done more. Orient 3, Barnet 1. The long trip up to Victoria Road ended in disappointment as former O's boss Chris Turner masterminded a victory over his old club. Tommy Miller beat Ashley Bayes for the Poolies first. Then with 13 minutes remaining, Paul Stevenson made the point safe for the home side. This shot from the edge of the box gave Bayes no chance. Billy Beale and Carl Griffiths had both had efforts disallowed for the O's, and Steve Watts bundled one in late on to give the scoreline an air of respectability, but the final score was Hartlepool 2, Orient 1. But it was another case of Fortress Brisbane Road at home against Mansfield. Matt Lockwood made it 6 out of 6 from the spot after Wayne Corden had handled. Then just after the break, Nicky Shorey swung in a cross which was met by Carl Griffiths in the air. He beat Bobby Mims with an excellent header. Darrell Clark ensured we had to keep our concentration up until the end as he pulled one back for Mansfield, but it wasn't enough. Orient 2, Mansfield 1. A trip to Gloucestershire followed and we took on Cheltenham Town. Things started badly, the home side dominating, but we held out until half-time. Then just into the second half, Neil Grayson was given far too much time and space in the box, and the veteran striker put the home side ahead. Orient's appeals for offside fell on deaf ears. This match saw the first start in Orient colours for Chris Tate, and he put pressure on the Cheltenham defence to allow Dave McGee in. McGee had been pushed up front by Tommy Taylor as a makeshift striker, and it worked to good effect. Picking up the loose ball in the centre of the half, McGee advanced in on Steve Book and kept his nerve to earn us a draw. Cheltenham 1, Orient 1. The FA Cup draw handed us a potential banana skin away at Unibond League side Barrow. After the Cumbrians had put us under some first half pressure, 2 second half goals eased the nerves. Carl Griffiths poked the first home after Nicky Shorey's cross wasn't properly cleared. And then Steve Watts eased us into round 2, finishing off after Andy Harris had made a powerful run on the right hand side. Watts' finish sent the Barrow keeper the wrong way. Final score then, Barrow 0, Orient 2, and the draw gave us another away tie at another non-league club. It was Northwich in round 2. This win put us up into the top 3. It took just 7 minutes for Carl Griffiths to open the scoring. Lee Martin fumbled Wim Valchart's cross, and another simple finish. In the driving East London rain, the Belgians' cross caught out the Mac keeper, and Griffiths did what he does best. But just as it looked as if we'd take the lead into the half-time break, Damien Whitehead poked home after an almighty scramble inside the 6-yard box. But with just 8 minutes remaining, Steve Watts took advantage of Macclesfield's poor clearance. Lee Martin's kick came back off Sedgemore, and Griffiths stood out of the way, so the offside flag stayed down as Watts sealed the points. Orient 2, Macclesfield 1. Watts was on target the following week again as we went down 4-1 at the hands of runaway league leaders Chesterfield. That wasn't ideal preparation for the Northwich Cup clash, but Carl Griffiths eased the nerves with a 25th minute volley at the drill field. A great finish from Carl, who was obviously feeling hungry. Steve Watts it was who met the free kick from Andy Harris, and Griffiths gave Lance Key no chance with his well-struck shot. Matt Lockwood and Steve Watts combined 4 minutes after the break for Griffiths to make it 2-0. And then it looked like we were heading into round 3. But the Conference club fought back well. 2 minutes later, John Robertson stabbed the ball home after Gary Fletcher had flicked it on. And then just after the hour mark, Fletcher was on target to level the scores. And as if that wasn't bad enough, with 20 minutes to go, former Manchester City striker A.D. Mike made it 3-2 to the Vicks. Fletcher was again the provider, and Mike was on hand to send the non-leaguers into dreamland. But Chris Tate, who had come on as a sub to replace Carl Griffiths, picked the perfect time to hit his first goal for Orient. He drilled the ball in from 25 yards at the drill field, to mean we had to go back to Brisbane Road and do it all over again. Northwich 3, Orient 3. Determined not to be outdone by Tate, another new signing, Scott Houghton, scored his first goal in the following game. There were 83 minutes on the clock in the Boar draw against Darlington when Houghton picked his spot from 20 yards to seal all 3 points. The flying winger clearly delighted with this strike, and the former Tottenham man would go on to play an important role in the next game, which of course was the Northwich replay. This one is brought to you by Sky Sports' Martin Tyler and Clive Allen.
Fletcher. Oh, and Cook might get to this. It's a chance for Ian Cook. It's a chance that he's taken. And the gamble for Keith Alexander of bringing Cook into the team tonight brings an early dividend. 10 minutes gone. Leyton Orient 0, Northwich Victoria 1.
Yeah, it'll be one that he'll certainly remember for years to come. It'll be interesting now to see what Keith Alexander does, whether he maintains his formation, keeps the 3 strikers up and tries to certainly keep Orient under pressure.
Here they go again, and it's Cook again. And Fletcher and Mike. It's in. It's a goal for AD Mike. Harris with a throw. Mansley. It's a good spot. He's picked out Lockwood. Watts. And now Houghton. It's in for Griffiths again. Johnny on the spot. And Leyton Orient start the comeback right at the start of the second half.
But they've worked the ball well wide, and then it's played inside from Houghton. I think it's Watts with the first header. It's not cleared, and there's the man in form on the spot, Carl Griffiths, to give Orient hope right at the start of this second half.
It's good work, very tidy from Steve Watts. Oh, it's 2-2. It's an own goal from Simpson, I think. It doesn't matter to Tommy Taylor, the ball's in the net. Griffiths in the thick of it as well. Let's have another look at it.
It's a wonderful cross from Walshart's pace, whips it in and slices off of Webb Simpson. Hits the underside of the crossbar, but it's well worked. Smith wins an important tackle there. Watts plays it wide to Walshart, and he whips the cross in behind the defenders. He slices off of the right boot, underside of the bar, all square.
Still haven't got that far yet. Lockwood. Headed on by Griffiths. Oh, Houghton! It's a goal! Lance Key has kicked it against Scott Houghton. And the former Tottenham player has sent Leyton Orient surely to a tie with Spurs now. Can you believe it? Well, you've got to give him credit for chasing in. But poor Lance Key.
Well, Mark Devlin, I feel, just leaves this back pass slightly short. Scott Houghton takes the chance to close it down, and Lance Key just trying to drive it away, smashes it into the raised right leg of Scott Houghton, and I think Scott Houghton, formerly of Spurs, has given Leyton Orient a third-round tie.
The final league game before Christmas saw us take on Rochdale at the Matchroom Stadium. Things didn't start particularly well. Steve Watts handled Tony Ford's corner. There were some protests from the Orient men, but referee Dermot Gallagher had no doubts. Neither did Gary Jones, who converted from the spot to give the Dale the lead. Orient were poor before the break, but they picked up afterwards, and the leveller came through the Belgian midfield of Wim Walsharts. He was beginning to make something of a name for himself from long-range strikes. And as we see this one again, it's no surprise why. Orient 1, Rochdale 1. On Boxing Day it was the short trip to Southend. Scott Houghton against his former club suffered a torrid time at the hands of the Roots Hall fans, but he had the last laugh in injury time when his cross was turned in by Darryl Flahaven. Clearly an own goal, but Griffiths claimed it. Then it was the big tie against Spurs, over to Sky's Martin Tyler and Brian Marwood.
He's come up, and Smith more than useful in the air, both of those. Towards Smith. Oh, and it was a stinger from Lockwood, and Sullivan almost dropped it at Watts' feet.
Well, we talked about it, haven't we, as far as Matthew Lockwood's concerned. He just got a sighter there. And Smith had done very well, really, battling against Campbell, but great technique to keep that ball under control. How many times have you seen shots like that just fly over the crossbar? Wonderful strike.
Rebrov to score a truly breathtaking goal against Newcastle on Tuesday. Tottenham still looking to make inroads here against the club from the third division. Ledley King again! Oh, well, the frame of the goal coming to Leyton Orient's rescue. Clements was trying to follow up.
Well, they had an opportunity moments earlier, very similar situation where Ledley King has got forward from midfield. It's a great attempt, and unfortunately Clements couldn't follow up. Wonderful ball from Leonardson Martin, right into the danger area. Great directed header. And Stephen Clements was inches away.
King hit the post in the first half. Sherwood. Now can Spurs snatch it? Campbell's got that in his mind because he's supporting down the left-hand side. Rebrov! Bazer's turned it away.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tommy Taylor would have been furious with his captain, Dean Smith, because really Smith was favourite, and Rebrov certainly got up way above the centre-half and fired a wonderful header. And once again, Bayes the hero. Two excellent saves in this second period.
Anderton with the corner. Doherty! Tottenham are through, surely. In stoppage time.
From one extreme to the other as we went out of our second cup competition in a matter of days. Less than 1,000 people came through the turnstiles for this game against Wycombe, and those that did saw Matthew Brady ease the Chairboys into the lead. After the break, Sam Parkin met a free kick to make it 2-0. We were out of the LDV, but after the excitement from that Saturday before, it was all a bit of an anticlimax. We'd already played at St James's Park, of course, this season, but it was the rather less palatial surroundings of the Devon club Exeter City that greeted us, as Paul Reed put them into the lead. Reed was on loan at Brisbane Road in early 1995, you may remember. Graham Power's free kick made it 2-0. Ashley Bayes may have thought he could have done better. But what followed was surely the comeback of the season. In the 6th minute of first half injury time, Scott Houghton's corner wasn't properly cleared. It eventually fell to Andy Harris on the edge of the box. His rifling shot struck the woodwork. Amit Berkovic put the ball back in, and Chris Tate was eventually on hand to head as a lifeline. That was all the incentive we needed, as after the break we really took the game to Exeter, and in the end thoroughly deserved the 3 points. Amit Berkovic headed the ball Carl Griffiths' way for the equaliser, and then the Welsh hitman made it 3-2, touching home after this corner again wasn't cleared by the home defence. Exeter 2, Orient 3. But what followed was a dodgy spell of just 2 wins in 12 games. Southend got their revenge for the Boxing Day defeat. Ben Abbey netted twice at Brisbane Road to delight the travelling shrimpers. Abbey was just too sharp for the O's defence, as we lost at home in the league for the first time all season. Southend 2, Orient 0. A trip to Scotland was next, and it's over again to Sky Sports' Rob Hawthorne and Brian Marwood.
This is Jones. Forward climbing with Lockwood. It's Platt who's emerged with it. That's Flitcroft. Ellis! 1-0! Prolific strikers in the lower divisions through the years. Tony Ellis does it again and gives Rochdale the lead. Now Flitcroft. This is Bayliss. Toddle's got forward. Joseph in the way. This is Jones. And he's linked up brilliantly with Tom. And he's scored one! At any level, that's a fine finish. And Jones has richly deserved it. Here's Haaland. And he's managed to work it through. Ellis has got one goal already. Denied another one by Bays. But the follow-up is in, and it's Haaland who's got it. McGee. Tate. Berkovic lining it up for Smith, and he's got one. For the 5th time in 4 seasons, Dean Smith scores against Rochdale. It may be no more than a consolation, but at least it brings a bit of pride back for Leyton Orient.
Well, we've seen some good goals, but that's as good a finish as we have seen from the centre-half. And it was really about composure. He doesn't really look to thrash it. He goes for accuracy, and he's absolutely spot on, because that's flown past Neil Edwards into the top corner. And it is as good a finish as we have seen all through the afternoon.
Tommy Taylor sought to strengthen the forward line with the loan signing of Lorenzo Pinamonte from West London rivals Brentford. And the Italian's debut got off to a dream start when his faintest of touches gave us the lead against Halifax. This proved to be a routine victory. Amit Berkovic stooped to head home the second after some good work on the left. Dave McGee and Brendan McElholm had combined to find Carl Griffiths, and the goalscorer turned provider with an excellent cross that Berkovic could hardly miss. And although Griffiths didn't get his name onto the score sheet, he had an excellent afternoon, which was capped by setting up the 3rd goal for Steve Watts. His fine shot was only parried, and Watts was on hand to make it 3-0. Almost 9,000 people were inside Boothby Park to see the next game, as Hull City continued their improvement with a 1-0 win. Simon Downer came in for some criticism from Tommy Taylor, as Rodney Rowe held him off after picking up Justin Whittle's long header forward. Rowe's rocket finish across Ashley Bays was unstoppable. Hull 1, Orient 0. Our first goalless draw of the season followed, a game notable only for the debut of young left-back Billy Jones. We only came close to breaking the deadlock on 2 occasions. First a header wide from Carl Griffiths, and then Amit Berkovic forced a save from the Harriers keeper as he connected with Scott Houghton's cross. Orient 0, Kidderminster 0. Lee Hodges was again our chief tormentor in the return fixture against Scunthorpe. Although Ashley Bay's control from this dodgy back pass was good, the clearance was far from what he would have liked, and Hodges picked the ball up, rounded Matthew Joseph, and finished with skill. But we had the better of the chances, and on the stroke of half-time, Amit Berkovic came close to emulating Hodges' feat. 3 times he beat his man in the box, and his shot looked to be creeping in before it was deflected just wide. After 5 games without a goal, Carl Griffiths had been relegated to the bench, but the striker came on to produce a classy finish that earned us a point. Lorenzo Pinamonte's well-struck drive was only parried, and Griffiths was on hand to scuff his finish home. Scunthorpe 1, Orient 1. Struggling Lincoln were then dispatched 3-2, but the scoreline was closer than it should have been. Steve Watts' excellent goal from a corner put us 1-0 up. And Watts' great finish was then matched by Amit Berkovic, who pounced on some hesitant defending to run through and make it 2-0. It was the Croatians' 4th goal of the season. After the break and the match continued in the same vein, Scott Houghton did well to keep this ball in on the left, and his inch-perfect cross was met by Lorenzo Pinamonte, who had the simplest of tasks to head the ball in. The Italian striker hardly had to move to meet Houghton's cross, and it looked to be game over at that point. But the Imps battled back and Steve Holmes gave them some hope. He made it 3-1 with this header from the corner. Then with the seconds ticking down, Richard Peacock's shot somehow managed to squeeze through, and it made for an edgy final few seconds. But the O's held on for a much needed win that kept us in 5th place. Lincoln 2, Orient 3. By now Brighton had cemented themselves in the automatic promotion places. Paul Brooker ran the show in front of a crowd of over 8,000 at Brisbane Road. His first goal set them on the way to a comfortable victory. Bobby Zamora was one of the leading hitmen in the division. Linked with any number of Premiership clubs, he did his reputation no harm at all. This powerful strike gave the Seagulls all 3 points. Orient 0, Brighton 2. We weren't given much hope at Ninian Park. Cardiff had an excellent home record and we had a much changed side. Nicholas Forjay played his only game for the club, whilst Steve Castle made his first start of the season after injury problems. So on a night of firsts, it was fitting that Sasha Opinel scored his first goal for the club. What a strike it was. The 70 or so Orient fans in their Packer Max went absolutely crazy. Opinel's amazing swerving strike silenced over 9,000 Welsh fans and looked to be giving us all 3 points. But deep into injury time, Robert Earnshaw noticed a ball bouncing through the Orient defence. Bayes couldn't gather, and Earnshaw made no mistake. Cardiff won, Orient won. What followed, as Tommy Taylor admitted, were our 2 worst results of the season that virtually ended much chance of automatic promotion. Torquay was second bottom when they came to Brisbane Road, but Jason Rees bundled them ahead and they didn't look back. That was on 25 minutes, and just 5 minutes later Robbie Herrera's corner was headed in by Jimmy Agre. Things picked up after the break. Matt Lockwood went close with a free kick. Then late on, Kevin Hill was denied by Ashley Bayes, his rampaging run stopped by a good save with the goalkeeper's left leg. On Tuesday we went up to Carlisle and lost 1-0. Carlisle were bottom of the table. Things picked up for the next game though. We did go behind at Gay Meadow. Steve Jagielka unleashed a shot from 25 yards. Simon Collins deflected it past Scott Barrett. But young forward Aaron McLean had overcome his injury problems to work his way into the first team squad. And McLean came off the bench to meet Sasha Opinel's cross with a fine header. The youngster enjoyed that one, so let's see it again. Opinel getting in behind the defence and a firm connection from McLean. 1-1 the final score. That draw at Shrewsbury marked the start of an upturn in our fortunes. 3 points against Blackpool at Brisbane Road was the next step. Brett Ormerod had gone close to giving the Seasiders a lead in the first half. Scott Barrett defying the years with an excellent save. How this corner from Matt Lockwood didn't go in, nobody will ever know. But somehow Blackpool managed to hook the danger clear. Lockwood had the final say though. In the 66th minute, he curled the ball past possibly the longest wall the Football League's ever seen. Lockwood proving that despite what he did earlier in the season, he can score from places other than the penalty spot. That was his 7th goal of the season. Not bad for a left-back. York City were the next visitors to E10. Lee Nogan put them ahead. How about this for a strike? Scott Barrett could only watch as it looped over him into the net. Now with Lockwood off the field, what would happen if Orient got a penalty? Carl Griffiths knew the answer to that one. Man of the match Billy Beale was sandwiched by Nick Richardson and Matt Hocking. Griffiths it was who'd laid the ball off to the midfielder, and he was unceremoniously dumped to the ground. 28 minutes gone, and Griffiths made it 1-1. That was how it finished. York 1, Orient 1. There was half an hour played at Feetham's when Dean Smith headed us into a surprise lead. John Martin it was who swung in the corner. Chris Tate put it into the captain's path, and he made no mistake. But 3 minutes before the break it was all square. The cross came in from the right, and Sasha Opinel brought down Stephen Harper. Referee Harry Webb pointed to the spot, despite the O's protests, and Glenn Naylor converted with ease. Darlington 1, Orient 1. Chesterfield were top of the table when they came to Brisbane Road, but Tommy Taylor had the perfect anniversary present. This was his 250th game as Orient boss. Young midfielder John Martin had his best day in a red and white shirt. 2 minutes after the break, he beat 3 men and provided an excellent cross. Dave McGee matched it with a fine header. It was a fine bit of skill from Martin. He hardly even looked up before picking out the centre-back up helping the attack. With 9 minutes to go, the points were confirmed. Orient worked the ball out of defence. Carl Griffiths and Steve Watts worked their way through the midfield. And although Watts' good cross was cleared, it was only to the edge of the area where Ian Breckin knocked over Wim Balschaerts. Richard Beebe pointed to the spot, Chesterfield's protest somewhat half-hearted. And with Lockwood's continuing absence, it was down to Carl Griffiths again. That was his 18th of the season. Orient 2, Chesterfield 0. This game had been scheduled for New Year's Day but was postponed because of an icy pitch. Plymouth arrived with one of the worst away records in the league, but they defended well and took the lead on 28 minutes, Michael Meeker with the excellent finish. 6 minutes after the break, John Martin played the ball through to Andy Harris. It was a perfectly weighted ball, which Harris met on the byline, and Steve Watts at the far post levelled the scores. Final score, Orient 1, Plymouth 1. Next to Underhill, and a match of huge importance for both sides. Completely different reasons though. Barnet struggling to stay up, Orient looking to go up. Sam Stockley was fouled by Dean Smith for an early penalty. Darren Curry converted it to give the home side hope. But this was the Chris Tate show. Tate came on to replace Steve Watts and responded with 2 excellent finishes. This volley put us level. Tate getting on the end of that flick-on header from Amit Berkovic to put the ball home in front of a mass of travelling fans. Then just a few minutes later, Wim Balschaerts headed the ball into the big striker's path. He controlled it neatly and produced a superb overhead kick. Let's see this one again. Like Richard Garcia's and Isden Christie's from early in the season, this certainly goes down as a goal of the season contender. Orient chairman Barry Hearn described the opening spell of this match as the best 20 minutes since he's become chairman. Dean Smith headed in Scott Houghton's free kick in just the 6th minute to put us ahead. Houghton was again the provider for number 2. Picking up the ball from Carl Griffiths' touch, he went on a run before laying it through to Steve Watts, and the striker twisted 3 defenders and made it 2-0. These two sides have been locked in battle for that 4th place. On the evidence of this afternoon, there was only ever going to be one winner. There were just 18 minutes on the clock when Carl Griffiths fancied a piece of the action himself. It proved to be his 19th and final goal of the season. Mickey Barron headed Ashley Bay's long goal kick into Griffiths' path, and the sweet left foot volley gave the Hartlepool keeper no chance at all. After the break, the Victoria Road outfit picked up, and they got a deserved consolation late on. Ian Clark's clever back heel in the box was finished by Tommy Miller. Orient 3, Hartlepool 1. Despite playing most of this match with 10 men, Orient must have fancied their chances of taking at least a point. That was until the 78th minute. Liam Lawrence fired home through a ruck of players. Then deep into injury time, Lawrence turned provider. He found Shane Bradley, and Bradley sealed the points for the Stags. Mansfield 2, Orient 0. This goalless draw ended the Robins' slim hopes of making the playoffs, but they were left to kick in their heels at missed chances. Andy Harris cleared this Neil Grayson header off the line early on. There were 73 minutes on the watch when the O's best chance of the afternoon arrived. Steve Castle it was who touched the ball back into the path of Wim Valschaerts, and the Belgians' stinging drive went just wide. Late on, Cheltenham had another chance to win it. Steve Cottrell was an angry man afterwards. Their manager thought they should have won it. Ashley Bayes, though, had other ideas. Orient 0, Cheltenham 0. Our final league game of the season meant we had to get at least a point from Macclesfield to ensure playoff qualification. Dave McGee was denied early on, but youngster Jabbo Ibery, who had been handed his first start in a senior shirt, was determined to repay Tommy Taylor's faith. Ibery opened the scoring. Andy Harris's long throw was knocked into his path by Dave McGee, and the 18-year-old produced a brave finish. Ibery holds off 3 Mac defenders before placing the ball home. Into the second half, a Matt Lockwood free kick was deflected his way, but on this occasion he was denied. Shortly afterwards, the clincher came though. Dave McGee laid the ball back to Matthew Joseph. His long ball forward was avoided by the Macclesfield defence, and the kiss said it all. Playoffs it was, Macclesfield 0, Orient 2. So from their 46 games that season, the O's finished in 5th place in the 3rd Division, a goal difference of +8 and a points tally of 75. They scored a total of 59 goals and conceded 51. It was Hull City in the playoffs. 13,310 packed into Boothby Park for the first leg of the semi-final. Tommy Taylor made just one change from the side that had beaten Macclesfield. Steve Castle came in for the injured Andy Harris, which meant John Martin stepped up to the bench. Hull put the O's under some early pressure. Mark Greaves it was who hit the bar from this long throw. Scott Houghton tried his luck with this adventurous cross, touched over by Paul Musselwhite. Ibery bamboozled the Hull defence on the right wing. Twisting this way and that, he worked his way infield before setting up Scott Houghton. But the bleached blonde-haired winger's finish left something to be desired. Then in the 68th minute, the crucial goal came. Ibery could only clear the ball as far as John Eyre, and although he is said to have admitted afterwards that he used his hand to control it, play continued and he drilled the ball under Ashley Bayes. But the tie was firmly in the balance for the second leg at Brisbane Road. Let's hand you over to Andy Gilson to describe the action.
Scott Houghton with the bleached hair there, and David McGee with his back to camera wearing 5. Well, Orient have had their share of big cup ties this season. They've played Newcastle, they've shown their teeth against Spurs, but none bigger than this match. the winners off to the Millennium Stadium. Steve Castle's out there. He's seen it all before for Orient, a member of their 1989 promotion side when they won here against Wrexham. But let's worry about tonight then, as Dean Smith, the Orient skipper, gets underneath that one with a header. That eludes Iberi. Watts steers it inside. That's a little touchdown there from Francis. Well, he's seen his fair share of teams this season, Francis. Now, this is Lockwood. Flicked on by Berry now. A little bit of work there for Justin Whittle. Not the best of clearances. There's the shot. And over it goes. So Joseph with the throw then for Orient. Now Houghton. Well, a deflected cross. Not a bad looking one, though. There's a knock. And it's chipped over there from Musselwhite. Oh, knocked away, not too well. That took a deflection too, and that'll go for a corner. Well, the whole defence doesn't look very good, does it, Steve, under pressure?
It looks more shaky than it did on Sunday, Andy, at the moment. I think it's getting to him, actually, tonight.
But Orient have got to make some of these corners count, surely, now. Their third corner of the evening. Lockwood to take this one. And an in-swinger again. That's a real chance, but it's slashed wide in the end by Castle. A stumble by Castle, but he recovered well. Well, that could go for a corner. Indeed it has. Now then, a little bit of a freebie of a corner as far as Orient are concerned, but can they capitalise on it? Fifth corner of the evening. Taken short this time, that's deflected. Well, that's off of Iberi, and that'll be a goal kick, will it? No, a corner given. Well, that'll be a visit to the opticians for me, and Orient get another corner. So Lockwood again. And he whips it over there again. Oh, there's a header and a flapping going on, and another corner. Well, I think Hull feeling that their keeper was impeded, and I think they've got a case there. But interesting to see that the only person not complaining, in fact, was Paul Musselwhite. So Houghton with a corner this time. Oh dear, it's a low one. Clearance away. Up to air now then. What can Hull do here? Francis given it away now then. Houghton. There's the header. Oh, it's a goal! Terrific goal! And it's Steve Watts. And Leyton Orient on the stroke of half-time have levelled it up here at Brisbane Road. Now, Iberia will get the decision. Foul this time by Mark Greaves. Just a little too far out, one would feel. Although Castle, body language is anything. I thought for a moment Steve Castle fancied his chances. But Lockwood perhaps will try it, because Musselwhite seems to have... well, he's come back across the goal now. It's not a bad try. Oh, and it's gone wide. The keeper, in fact, did well there. He just managed to stay in front of the ball and forced Will Sharp's follow-up wide. Right, so the ball just a hold up here. Why Hull make another change. Now then, we're midway through the second half. Dave Brown coming on. Off goes Rob Matthews. Now, Berkovic, Martin and Tate still at Tommy Taylor's disposal. And you're wondering perhaps that fresh pair of legs up front, whether or not something might happen. There's so much at stake, of course. Easy to say from here. Kept in play and helped forward by the foot of Phil Pott, one of the substitutes that Brian Little's used up. There's a long range. Oh, what a goal! What about that? What about that? It's Matthew Lockwood with one to remember. And has he screamed Leyton Orient towards Cardiff and the final? Are the gods going to look after Brian Little, or are they on Tommy Taylor's side? It's a corner. Musselwhite's come up. The goalkeeper's up. Everybody's up. And that is the final whistle. And Leyton Orient have beaten Hull City by 2-0 and are going to the Millennium Stadium, Cardiff, for their second playoff final in 3 years. On the night they fully deserved it. For Hull City, they'll have to go back to the building blocks and start building for next season in Division 3. Orient have one match more to play. They still too, of course, could be in Division 3, but terrific performance. Let's just enjoy the evening for what it is. A terrific cup tie.
What a night that was, and what a strike from Matty Lockwood. Now remember this. He does. But he'd rather remember these. And so would this man. So it was on to Cardiff. Rob Hawthorne and Chris Kamara.
This the first playoff final to be played in Cardiff, and this the reception they get. Blackpool going to the side that their fans populate and have populated well. Leyton Orient fans outnumbered roughly 2-1. And the obligatory explosion of colour in terms of fireworks, but with the distinctive colours of the two teams here today, particularly Blackpool's tangerine. It is a very colourful setting around the Millennium Stadium. Blackpool in the distinctive tangerine, managed by Steve McMahon, to make a piece of history here and get the first playoff final at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff underway. The last 5 at Wembley were decided by a single goal in this division. This is Matt Lockwood with a throw-in. Now an early touch for Ibarre. Ryan Reid with the touch back to Phil Barnes, who stumbled already, and Tate is in here with a great chance. What a calamitous start for Blackpool and for their goalkeeper Barnes, who stumbled on this much criticised surface, and Chris Tate takes full advantage to score in about half a minute.
Well, he showed his composure, Chris Tate, but what a disaster. Just watch his boots slip on the surface. This is easy for him. Look, it played back to him, nice and sweet by Reed. And then there's the slip. The boot goes into the ground. He's tried to advance forward. Tate says, thank you very much. There's the slip. He gets underneath his feet. Tate skips it away with his right. Carefully takes it on the second touch and then just easily caresses it into the back of the net.
Now Coyd, who's got Murphy up ahead of him. Orient has made a run behind. This is Wellens. Simpson had made a move to his left. Here is Simpson, who's got Hills wide of him, but Simpson strikes! And Bayes, with his first test, turns it around.
Well, the first thing you have to say is Orient are dropping off too deep. They're allowing too much space. You do not give Paul Simpson this amount of space because he will line it up and strike it. It may have just hit the outside of the post at best, but he can't take any chances. He has to make the save, Ashley Bayes.
Here's Ormerod. Hills. Away by Dam. Phil Clarkson lining one up for Danny Coyd. Great shot and a good save too from Bayes.
It's a wonderful save. It's a beautiful strike from Danny Coyd. He just hits it with the outside of his right button. It's heading towards that left-hand corner. And he has to be sharp across his goal, Bayes. He is. That's a great hand.
Lockwood. Iberay trying to wriggle free of Coyd and Hughes. And he's found Scott Houghton. Lockwood. Beyond McGee. Balsharts is the player. McGee's header! And it was a fine save to repair some of Barnes' confidence.
Well, what a defensive header this is from Hughes, because he just gets himself there, because McGee's got an open goal. He comes right across, the goalkeeper makes the save. Hughes is right tight on him. McGee gets the header in, and there's the flick over the bar from Barnes.
And in disaster here, or can they do something to repair the damage of that horrendous fall by the goalkeeper? Now Smith in trouble against Murphy, and Murphy's got through, and Bayes gets his captain out of trouble.
Brilliant. Well, it's route one from Parkinson. Let's change the tactics. Let's not play football. Let's play a little bit longer. Anything can happen. And we see that Smith misjudges it. It dies on the surface. Murphy then uses his strength. He's got to take it early after that because he knows people will be chasing him from behind. And he tries to place it to the left-hand side of Bayes, and he makes an excellent
goal. It's Ian Hughes, the Welshman, who met Simpson's corner, and Blackpool have got themselves level. Tate looks to get in there. Iberay would hope to turn on it, but instead finds Lockwood, who in turn finds Scott Houghton, and they're back in front.
What a strike. What a brilliant strike. He's got plenty of space. Lockwood, everybody thinks Lockwood's just going to shift this back into the box. He's a cleverer player than that, because he knows when people are available, he'll give it to them. He gives it to Houghton, good on his left foot, but he takes this one with his right. He hits it well across the goalkeeper. Barnes doesn't see it till late. There's loads of bodies in the way. Gets down as early as he possibly can. It might have even gone through the legs of Clarkson. It does go through the legs of Clarkson, but it also nestles into the back of the net. 2-1.
To Parkinson to cross. Reed coming in, and he's done it. Again, it's a Blackpool central defender, and yet again they've come from behind. 2-2 now. Pulled across by Harris. Here's Tate, and this one is wide. Although it was a deflected pass, according to the referee.
Hughes is claiming he didn't touch it. It looked as if it came off his feet. Tate does well, has to hit it first time.
Houghton dragged it away well from Wellens. Iberay out to his left here. Tate and Harris have got into the area. What a run this is! Oh, what a goal it would have been! might still eventually be Tate wins the corner, but what a fantastic run by the youngster.
Wonderful skill from him. Just watch the two defenders go out for a pie, because he just twists and turns and they both go missing, and then it's outside of the right foot, away from the goalkeeper, Phil Barnes, but unfortunately it just drifts and hits the post.
Houghton, all ran away from him, and now Wellens and Ormerod will try and benefit from that. Simpson and Murphy have come forward in support too, and Simpson here is free with a chance to win it, perhaps for Blackpool. He's certainly got the goal, and if they can hang on for the last 13 minutes of this contest, then Blackpool will be in the second division next season. Hills, Simpson, Hills has carried on his run here, but a brilliant run this is as well. Ormerod, what a goal to finish it off! Simpson and Hills set it up magnificently, and Brett Ormerod, with his 26th goal of the season, has Blackpool soaring towards the second division, and Steve McMahon can feel confident about that now.
So an afternoon to forget in the end, but certainly a season to be proud of. Who can forget those epic cup ties, Northwich and Spurs, the playoff victory over Hull, and that great day out at the Millennium Stadium. Although it wasn't the result we wanted, Barry Hearn, Tommy Taylor and the entire squad had given us their all throughout the season. 2000-2001 for Leyton Orient, so near, yet so far.